I want to basically show you guys how this typewriter effect was actually built using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I know that I've actually uploaded the finished product to my channel and then my Facebook, but I have not actually shown you guys how I put the code together. So if you want to learn with me how this is actually built, or maybe you want to just use that as maybe for entertainment, let's get into my computer and then see how we can put the code together to generate this particular typewriter effect that you are actually seeing right now. It's basically an animation, and we're going to just do that, but it's a special animation. You can actually use that to display your products or services you render on your website or something of that nature. So it could just be just a part of a website. I've actually used that on my own personal website and it works just fine. So I want to take you into the development environment and see how we can actually put this together right now.
So this is the typewriter effect. You can actually use it to display the services that you're actually offering. And you see, we'll have desktop apps and we'll have a robust web apps. And then if you watch, if it waits a few seconds, so we also have responsive web apps. And once it gets to the last one, this was create AI models. And once it gets to the desktop apps, once it gets to the last stuff, it goes to the first one. Okay, robust web apps, and just as simple as that. All right, so we do have that right here, and you can just basically use it to display maybe the product or the services that you kind of render. And once it gets to the last one, it just waits a few seconds before it starts again. All right, and if you watch how it's actually working, it's just displaying stuff letter by letter, and why it is also deleting, it's also deleting letter by letter. All right, you see how that is actually working. And I'm going to just basically show you how this is actually created. We're going to use HTML, CSS, and then add a tiny bit of JavaScript to make sure we're able to get this particular type of effect. So without wasting more time, we can actually start right now. So what I want to do, I do have a folder that I have created called the typewriter effect right here. I mean, it's just simply typewriter. It's actually located on my desktop. I want to show you my desktop right here. Look at the folder right here. So it's completely empty right now. So what you want to do is to create our first file here, and I'm going to create my index. So this is going to be index.html, and I open that up, and I want to basically generate my HTML boilerplate right here, and we do have this right here. All right, so what you want to do right here is to, first of all, let's give this a title, and this is going to be typing effect that, and then within the body right here, before we do this, I want to add a link to my CSS right here. To do that, we're going to just do link well, and we'll set that to style sheets, and then set that to the CSS. Okay, maybe we're going to create a folder. We're going to just basically call CSS, and then we'll create a file that we're going to basically call styles.css right here. So let's make sure we make a provision for that right here. Now within the body right here, let's go ahead and create the container for that of the typing text that we just saw right here. All right, talking about this container right here. So to create that, I'm going to use div. So this is going to be div, and we're going to give it a class, and let's basically go ahead and set the class to, I'm going to call this typing dash container, and then within this particular container right here, I want to create this particular white section that you are really seeing right here where the text is being typed. Not really the container, but just a section where we should be able to display the text. I'm talking about this side of this particular place. So we're going to create a div where the text will actually be displaying, and to do that, we can actually use something like a div or span, but I'm going to just use span right here. I'm going to basically give this an ID. So this is going to be ID, and set that to, this is going to be called a typed text dash text. And if we want, we can actually we can put a static text right here, call this create AI. We just want to see how that is actually going to look as we try to style it. That's why I'm just putting that right there. So we'll do span right here, and with that we've really created the span that is actually going to help us be able to display the text right here. So I want us to move on to creating the CSS folder right here. So let's do CSS in here, and we'll have that. So if I hit on the CSS, I want to create the styles file inside of it. So this is going to be styles.css, and open that up. And I want to make sure that I go ahead and write some CSS styles for this. Is to set the general reset in here, and to do that, you already know about how to do this. We're going to just set the margin. That's just what I want to I want to take away this right here. I just want to say box size right there should be enough. I'm make sure I'll terminate this line. And then after that, we want to style the body of the web page. So to do that, if I do body, and the first thing I want to do is to change the background. So it's going to be background. So after I set the background right there, and the next thing I want to do right here is to go ahead and then make sure that I kind of display the content on this page to a kind of a maintain flex direction. Okay, so we have that right there. So I'm just basically enabling flex right here, and I'm going to just basically set that to 100 VH, which is just viewport height. And the next thing is to set the font family. So I'm going to do font family right here, that of the Arial and the sans serif right there. So finally, on that line, I'm going to just do the margin of the body, and I'm going to just set that to 0. So we'll have that right there. So if you save the changes, just want to take a look at how that, okay, this one is the form one. So to open that up, if I open this folder up right here, and I want to open up this, not really this, but let me open up this in my browser, and you see that we do have this right here. All right, so this is the former one right here. This is the one we're just basically working on right here. So to continue this styling right here, if I get down here, I want to basically style the typing container, which we do have the class right here. Typing container, I want to copy this class, and if I go back to my CSS, I want to paste that in here, and this is just basically a class, so we need to add a dot right here. If it were something like an ID, we could just add something like what is it called, a hash sign right like this right here. Okay, but this is just a class. Well, we'll just do a dot, and if we have that right there, the first thing I want to set is the background to where I want that text to kind of appear. So if I do background, maybe background color, we can just kind of call this whatever I want, and I want that to just basically be a white color. So I'm gonna just do this, and I'm going to just basically use a shorthand for white color right there, which is just hash and then 3 Fs right there. And after that, we're going to set the padding to we're going to just make that 30 pixels, and after that we need to set the border right here, and the border, let's make this a border radius. So this is going to be radius, and we'll set that to be maybe 10 pixels. So after we do that, we're going to also set box shadow. So I'm going to just do box shadow right here, and I'm going to just go ahead and set that to the first value is actually going to be 0 pixels, and the second one is actually going to be 4 pixels. So I'm going to just have 4 pixels right here, and after that we'll have 20 pixels, and we're going to just set an RGB right here just for the opacity. And to do that, we're going to just the first value is actually going to be 0. I'm going to set the second one to 0, third one 0, and then the final thing here is actually going to be 0.1 right here. Okay, you could set it to maybe 0.5 or whatever you want to do that, but let's just we're going to just basically set that to 0.5, and that's just a soft shadow for a 3D effect right there. All right, so I'm going to just put a comment in here. I just say something like, so that is it on that particular line. So the next thing I want to do is to set the width. So I would want this to like be responsive. So for that reason, I can actually go ahead and let's introduce a comment here. I mean a terminating character right there. I'm going to just set that to 90%. And once you do that, the next one is the max width. I'm going to just do max width right here. And I'm going to basically set the max width to 600 pixels. And after we set the max width, you can just do the text align. I want the text to just be aligned to the center of the box. So I'm going to just do center right there. And then we can set the color of the text. If you want to set it to any other color, that's just fine. Then after that, we want to set the font size right here. So I'm going to just do font size, and that's all I need. So for instance, if we save the changes, so I want to take a look at how it's looking so far. Fresh air, you see that just basically looking like the original right here. You see that? We want to go further with the CSS, all right, to see how we can actually aid the changing of the text. All right, so to do that, if we get back right here, I want to basically put a comment in here. I'm going to just say something like maybe typing, and to do that we're going to use at keyframes right here. So this is going to be at keyframes, and we want to name the frame. So I'm going to just call this typing. I want to start this with a lowercase letter right there, and then within this particular place I want that to be able to move from, at first I want it to move, I want to change the width first of all to be able to move from 0 right here, and once it moves from 0, I want it to be able to move to a width of something like 20 ch right there. So I'm going to just adjust that based on the text cell length. All right, so to do that, I'm going to just do to throw in my quotation, my curly braces right here, and as I put in my curly braces, within this place, what I want to do is just do width, because I'm just basically going to change the width from 0 pixels right here to the length of the text that is actually available right there. So all of them do not actually have the same length, so I'm just adjusting based on how lengthy the whatever text that is actually displaying at that particular point in time, how lengthy it is going to just display based on that amount of length. So we have that. The next thing I want to do is, I'm just trying to look for a way to add blinking effects to the cursor right there, and we're still going to use that keyframes, guys. So I'm going to just copy this. Let's copy everything in here right now, so I can paste that down here, and I want to basically modify. All right, so at keyframes, I want to change the name right here and just do something like blinking or blink cursor, something of that nature. So I'm going to just do blink cursor like that. So could just call this carrots, blink carrot right here. And to do that, I'm going to just set this to move from 50% right here. So it's moving from 50%, and at that 50%, I want to basically set the border color right here. So let's do border color, and I want to set that to maybe something like transparent. So I'm going to do transparent right here, and then from there, once it moves to another percentage right here, and you know what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take away this right here. First of all, parent right here, it's 50%. So, and of course, we may not be able to like see anything happening here as of this particular point in time. And that is just because we really need to add JavaScript to be able to kind of understand what is really happening right there. All right. So even if I take this away, save the changes, you see that the text will not kind of automatically start coming in. So what we're going to do is that we want to look for a way to use this particular ID right here within our JavaScript, and then be able to bring in whatever that we want. And to do that, I think we want to add our JavaScript down here. So the first thing I want to do right here is to go ahead and then enter our script tags right here. So it's going to be scripts, and I'm going to go ahead and then create the script right here. So the first thing I want to do right here is to create, I'm going to just do, let's do typing, and I want to work on the typing text animation right here. So the first thing I want to do is to be able to grab the ID right here, this particular ID that we have right here. So to do that, I want to first of all put that in a variable. So this is going to be const. To create a variable in JavaScript, to do const, and you could just call that anything that you like. So I'm going to just call this one typed text. We'll go ahead and set that. We're going to use our document dot get element by ID, and then I want to go ahead and then grab onto the ID right here. Right, so I'm going to throw in there, and then we want to basically grab this particular ID and then put it in that particular place. So let's copy and paste this in here, and with that line, we've grabbed onto the ID and then put that into that place. Now if you take a look at right here, the former one, see that we do have some text that I kind of displaying right here. So we want to find a way to create the array of this text within our JavaScript, and to do that, I'm going to create a function, not a function, but an email, a variable. I'm going to just create a variable for that, and I'm going to basically call that phrases. So let's call that, and then we can actually go ahead and then it's going to be an array. All right, so let's do our arrays right here. So terminate this line, and then within this particular array right here, what I basically want to do is to like spell out those items right here. So the first one is actually called a responsive web design. So let's call that responsive web design. That's the first one. I want to introduce a comma, because creating arrays, you need to like separate them, and the items of an array, you need to separate them with commas. So the next one is actually called a create. The next one is actually going to be to bring in the next item. So this is not supposed to be like this, so let's introduce this, and then the next one is actually going to be desktop web apps, like that. And that's just basically the last item on that particular line, so we shouldn't actually add something like a comma in there. So the next thing I want to do right here, I'm going to just create a variable that I'm going to just call a current phrase index. So to do that, I'm going to just let index, I want to set that to 0 value right here, and after that, I'm going to also set the current letter index to 0 initially. All right, so this is going to be current. So the next one right here is about the deleting of the item. So I'm going to do let, and what I want to do is just basically set that to false right here, initial. I'm going to just set that to false. At a later time, I'm going to set it to true at some other sections of the application down here. So the next one I want to do is I want to create a variable that is actually going to help me set the speed of the typing, and I'm going to set that in milliseconds. So let's put a variable in here and just say const, and I'm going to just basically call that typing, and let's call that typing speed, and we're going to just basically go ahead and set that to maybe this is going to be 100 milliseconds right here. And then the next one is actually the deleting speed, right? So we're going to just do, this is going to be the deleting speed, and we can go ahead and set that to maybe this one is actually going to be 50 milliseconds. So every 60 milliseconds is able to like really delete, all right? So we need to have const in front of this variable right here to make sure that everything works just fine. So we do have that in there. So the next one is the time between the pause. Okay, so as it tries to, if you go back in here, as it's going right here, you see the time that is actually paused and between the time that it goes into typing the next thing right here. So we want to like set that right here. Okay, so we could just set that maybe something like 2 milliseconds or something like that nature. So I'm going to just, let's put that in a variable, call that const, and we can just do pause, create a variable that we could just basically call pause between. So pause between phrases, we're going to just basically set that to 20 milliseconds right there. All right, I mean 2 milliseconds, that's what that really means. So the next thing I want to do right now is to go ahead and then create a function for the type text, right? So to do that, we're going to just do function, and then within this particular function, I want to create a variable right here. So this is going to be const, call that a current phrase that, and then set that to be equal to, of course, we're going to pick that from the phrase that we got right up here. If you scroll up, you see that we do have a variable right here that is actually called a phrases, right? So I want to copy that, and that's just basically what I want to make use of right here. So I want to be able to pick the current phrase from that particular place. So for that reason, if I paste this right here, of course it's an array. So if I open that up, and I'm going to just go ahead and then pass in the current phrase index, which we have really created right here. So copy and paste that within this particular line in here, and then you want to go ahead and then terminate this line in here. And if you do that, the next thing I want to do is to check for the deleting. All right, so to do that, I want to just use a statement within here, and I want to just do if not is deleting right here. And what you basically want to do, so within this right here, what I want to first of all do is to like grab onto the typing. So what I want to do right here, if it is not actually deleting, I want to be able to start typing the text right here. All right, so for that, if I do typed text right here, I'm going to do dot text content right here, and we can go ahead and set that to be equal to the current. It's going to be current phrase right here. So let's select current phrase, and I'm going to do dot slice and open up within this particular function called the slice right here. The first value, I'm going to just need to find the 0 index right here, and I'm going to just do current letter. So this is going to be current letter index right here, and then we can basically do, we're going to just do +1 right here, and then down here we want to go ahead and then increment this particular thing right here. So if I copy this line and then get down right here, and I'm going to just do, all right, so the next thing I want to do is to find my way to like really pause at the end of every phrase right there. So to do that, we can also still use something like an if statement to be able to do that. So I'm going to just do if, and within this if statement right here, of course we need to pass in this right here called the current letter index. So I'm going to take the current letter index right here and then pass it within this particular place in here. And I want to basically, what I want to do is just basically set that to be equal to the current phrase right here. So let's do, where's the current phrase? We do have the current phrase right here, then pass that within this particular thing in here, and we're going to just do dot length. Make sure I type that correctly. This is going to be dot length right here to be able to get the length of the text right here. So down here, I want to put a comment in here and just say something like pause at the end of the phrase. All right, so to pause at the end of the phrase, all we need to do is to use this is deleting, and we're gonna basically set that to true right here. All right, so let's make sure type that correctly. It's going to just be set to true within this particular place right here. And I think we also need to pass this particular phrase right here within this if statement in here. So we do have okay, I think it's just really correct like that. All right, so we do have that within that particular line. So the way that we kind of implement this pause right here is to make sure that down here, what we're gonna do right here is to just use the set timeout to be able to do that. All right, so to do that, I'm going to just do set timeout, and within this set timeout right here, we want to pass in the typed text right here. So this is going to be type. Of course, we are going to first of all pass in the typed text. We introduce a comma in here, and then we're going to put in the typing speed right here. So I'm going to just copy this and then pass in the typing speed within this particular place. So with that line, we've been able to like create the pause. All right, how long is the pause is actually going to be implemented within that particular line in there. I think this should be a pause between right here. So we need to change this to a pause between. I think it should be let me copy this and then paste that right here. And of course, we're going to need an else part for this. So we're going to just do else. And I think that is just basically the else part, that we're going to just basically need the type speed right there. So if we bring this into here, and we do have a type text within this particular place, but then we're going to need the type speed. All right, so let's change this to type. This is going to just basically be typing speed, right? So we have that in there. So if we click on this first item right here, this if statement, we're going to need to create an else part for it right here. So I'm going to just do else down here, and I'm going to just let me copy these two lines in here and then paste that right here. So I have that pasted, and I want to like modify this right here a little bit, because we are going to just basically work on the typed text, the text content right here, which we're just basically setting that to the current phrase, and then we're slicing that. And what we want to do right here is to add a minus sign right here. That means we're just simply trying to decrement right here. All right, so that is just basically what line is actually going to do for us right there. So if we have that in place, the next thing that we'll basically need to do, we're going to use if statement within this place right here. So I'm going to just do if, and this time around we're going to just talk about the current letter right here. So this is the current letter index within this particular place. We'll set that to be exactly equal to 0 right here. And what we just basically want to do, so within the curly brackets right here, we want to find a way to move to the next text. All right, if we find out that it's just the index is actually set to 0, we want to move to the next text. So let's put move to the next, and the way that we move to the next phrase is to use our is delete. So we're going to just do is delete or is deleting. We're going to just set the is deleting right here to false. Make sure I type that correctly. Set that to is false right here. And then after that, we're going to set the current. So this is going to be the current phrase right here, and the current phrase index. This is going to be index right here. Select this, and then we'll go ahead and set that to, this is going to be the current phrase index right here. So this is going to be current phrase index, and so we're going to just add on to that. We're going to just do +1, and if we have that in there, throw in our percentage right here, and just say phrase. It's going to be phrase. I mean, a phrase is right here. All right, so I just reference into the index right there called a phrase, and I want to check for the length, so reference to the length right here. So have that right there. So we're going to use the set timeout right here to like move to the next text in here. So I'm going to just copy this and put that right here. And what I basically want to do with the set timeout, I'm going to set that to type text speed right here. I mean a type text right here, which is just basically the function that we do have right here. This type text, copy this type text right here, then get down to this place, put that in there, and then we're going to just, of course, we're going to use the typing speed to be available within that particular place. All right, so we're going to need an else part for this, so throw in our else part down here, and what you basically want to do is I want to copy this, set timeout right here, and then put that right here. And in setting the timeout right here, we want to make sure that we're going to use deleting speed right here. So let's do, so type that correctly. It's going to be deleting like that on that particular line. All right, so I think that's just basically looking good so far. So, and we're using this this type text. I think we need to, it just needs to be the one we're also using right here, the type text. The only time we need to use the typed text with if we're just grabbing onto the text content right here. So even right here, we need to also change this to type text. We don't need to do typed text, but just a kind of a reference into the function we got out up there. All right, so this one is correct, typed text right here, and we should just basically be using type text with this our timeout right here. All right, so just take a look at your own and then make sure that we're just basically using type text. Still any other place we really need to change that right here, type text, and we do have, okay, this one is correct right here, and this one is also correct. All right, I think that should just basically do it. And of course, if we save the changes right here, and we need to take away the what is it called? This statically typed text away from here. And then if we go back and then refresh this page, we may not be able to see anything yet, but I think we just basically need to call our function down here. So we're gonna just basically find a way to call this particular function that we have really created right here, which is this particular thing in here, and to make sure that a kind of a start working, we need to call the function. And to do that, if we get out of this place, we can just put a comment in here and just say start effects. And to do that, just basically want to paste this right here, and then you can go ahead and then terminate this line, save the changes, and then if we go back in here and then refresh, and you see that it starts to type, right? There is a problem right here because it's not like repeating itself. Refresh, it starts working, but there is an issue with the pause and then it's being able to move to the next phrase right here. So we need to find out why that is actually doing that. So let's take a look at our code. All right, I think I've seen the error right here. Look at what was spelled length incorrectly. So let me show type that. I know that you guys kind of saw that a long time ago. So this is length. And if we save the changes, wanna refresh our browser. So if we refresh here, we see that it moves, but still couldn't actually move to the next one. Well, this is just basically an error. We need to just take a look at this and see if we can actually find another error. And if you take a look at our code right here, we do have I think we need to change this to. This just basically needs to be. I think that this needs to just be current later. Let's do. This is going to be later index. Double click on that. It should be just basically be this that we'll need to pass in here. So I don't know if we save the changes and then we'll try to see whether that is actually going to work. So I have it saved. Let's refresh here, and that should just basically. Okay, it's working right now. Yeah, so that's just basically what it just basically needs to be. So you see how that is actually changing, just like the original one that we have right here, just like this one. So everything is just working just fine. So I want to close the original one, and then if I refresh here, it should just basically continue. All right, so if you don't like the amount of time that it's a kind of a pausing before moving to the next one, you can just go ahead and also change that from here. All right, so that the pause between the times right here. Okay, if you want it to just maybe take like a second, you can just change this to 1000 right here, save the changes, and you see that it's a kind of a move cell faster when it's trying to move to the next test right there. All right. So that is it, and I hope that you guys kind of enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. If you have any questions, feel free to throw that in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys.